Hi, this is Naris Kimchi. 안녕하세요. I actually got to practice Korean today. There were a couple of Korean young women from Dolores Hidalgo, which is half hour away from me. They came to pick up some kimchi from me. So I got to speak Korean language, which is very, very special. But anyway, today we're going to make a dessert called Hottuck. And Hottuck is a traditional Korean dessert that's with a bread filled with different fillings. Usually brown sugar and cinnamon, sometimes with nuts and seeds as well. So let's get to it. Okay, so ingredient for the dough, this is half cup of lukewarm water. You can do a room temperature water, but if you want to expedite the fermentation process, you want to microwave maybe for 10 seconds or so. So that was half cup of lukewarm water, but not the boiling water at all. It should be fairly just warm only. And let's use not quite 1 teaspoon, maybe 3/4. I think I put a little too much, so let me just take some out. I'll say about half teaspoon. So that's the yeast. And put some sugar. I'm going to add 1 tablespoon sugar here because I want the yeast to get enough food here. Plus whatever yeast doesn't eat before I cook, it'll sweeten the dough. So you just make this. And you wait about 5 minutes. All right, so you can see the yeast is going crazy now. It's very much alive. So I'm going to add another half cup of water, just room temperature water this time. You don't have to heat it because we just want to do the slow fermentation of rice. So I'm adding 1 cup of flour, regular flour, like all-purpose flour here, and start mixing. And it's definitely too runny. You want the bread dough that you can handle with your own hand. So now I'm going to add another cup of regular flour. I'm guessing it'll take at least 2 cups of flour. And let's add just a pinch of salt, about this much. And right now it's still pretty runny for me, and as it releases gas and rise, it's going to get runnier. So far we had 2 cups of flour. I'm going to add another half cup or so until we get to the right consistency. So you try to keep adding just a little more flour as you knead the dough. So this is looking pretty good, and it's not too stiff and it's not too runny. So now I'm going to actually put my bare hand here to make a pretty good dough here and start to form some gluten. So the outside is not too rough, and you could actually see the gluten forming already. And you can stop here or just knead another 10-20 times before you let it rest. And keep cleaning the side of the bowl so we don't waste any flour. This is going to make a lot of hotdog. Okay, I'm gonna stop right about here before my hand gets tired. So now we will just let it rest. Let's just let it rest like this in room temperature, away from sunlight. So try to put it somewhere in the darkest spot in the kitchen. If you can make the dough the night before or early in the morning, then just put the whole dough in the fridge so it ferments very, very slowly. Always slow fermentation tastes the best, whether it's for kimchi or for bread dough, pizza dough, etc. Okay? So the first filling is the classic brown sugar one, and that's exactly what we saw when we were kids on the street. So this is brown sugar, and you can use a dark brown sugar too, and I couldn't find it, so I'm just using light brown sugar that I found. And this is, what do you call it? Like a azúcar morena? Yes. So dark or medium brown sugar that is most popular in Mexico. And I'm adding a little bit of cinnamon for flavor. So you can see how much I put in there. So this is totally optional ingredients, pepitas. So pepitas, I really like these pumpkin seeds a lot, and you don't have to use them because they're kind of on the expensive side, but I love using them. So I toast it very lightly, and you can see I chop them. You don't have to chop them, but I don't want the sharp edge to poke the dough as we cook. So you just put that here too. You can see how simple it is. Now you add just a little bit of starch. So you can put regular flour, or in my case, I'm going to add a little bit of cornstarch. Now I remember what I forgot. So that's what I forgot. And you can see that's maizena. That is cornstarch. It's almost out. Just enough to make this one. You can put very little bit. It will thicken the sugar as it melts, so it doesn't go all over the pan, and it holds together a little bit better. So you can see I'm just gonna do this. And that is it for the first filling. The second filling is cheese. So it's queso Oaxaca. And so that is like string cheese, and way more flavorful than string cheese that we used to buy in California. And so this is Oaxaca. And this is a flower bouquet I got for my cat Ice Cube's birthday. And so we're going to cook with that. So that's jokes aside, this is squash blossom. I found them in the green grocer today, and I thought, oh, I can just put together with this and cheese for one of the fillings for hottuck. This is the last one that it's a total fusion. I love green onion so much, any kind of green onion and onion too. So this one I'm just going to fry in a low heat. So it'll taste probably a little bit like Chinese flour bun. Just do this very lightly. And add a bit of salt and pepper. Super simple. So meanwhile, the dough has risen, and you can see it's a lot. So that was about 2.5 cups of flour, and it's pretty well proofed. So instead of putting oil in my hand, I'm gonna use a non-stick spray, oil spray, because that makes it easier. So as I make the dough, as I handle the dough and add different filling, and you can let them rest in another plate. And you can see I actually wrapped the plate with saran wrap as well. And I'm gonna spray lightly with cooking spray so these guys don't get stuck either. So then I'm going to spray my hands with this. Look how well this turned out. It looks pretty good. So it's about, I would say, less than 100 grams of dough. And you can make it a little bit smaller, just enough to make a ball with filling inside. So you can see. So this is like a little plate. I'm going to add the brown sugar filling first. More the better, but unless you're really skillful, it's more likely to explode and rip while cooking. See how I'm doing this here? You really want to avoid having brown sugar, hot brown sugar spill all over. So if you can, try to do this part very carefully so it's all sealed like this. And then it can just go. Let's do another one so you can see what I just did. And anytime your hands start to stick to the dough, you can always add more cooking spray. So this one looks pretty good again. I'm gonna put more brown sugar. It's really my favorite dessert. But usually I don't like to make dough at home because you have to actually plan it. So generally I live without it. So that was 2 with brown sugar. I'm gonna make 1 with green onion now. So the green onion should be a lot easier because there's no sugar to come out. So you can see. Green onion is still pretty hot. So same thing, you're gonna try to seal it, but if this one doesn't seal, not the end of the world. It is a lot less serious than the brown sugar version. Yep, you just seal it like this. Like I said, it's a little bit tricky because green onion is so greasy from being fried. So you do have to seal it a few more times. And then it can go rest. Just take a rest right there. This is the 3rd one. That was cheese and squash blossom, the pumpkin flowers. And usually you can just use shredded cheese. It doesn't have to be sliced like this. You could just use shredded very easily. But I kind of like this because it's already flat because I sliced it. And you can put optional 1 flour in it or not, doesn't matter. This just happens to be available in our area right now. Wow, this was the easiest one to seal also. Very simple. Let's do another one with flour and cheese. And I'll do one with only cheese as well. Put the big one. And 1 whole flour. So I washed and shook water away. Just in case there's bug inside the flour. You do want to wash this one pretty well. Yep, and you can just seal this pretty easily like this. Let's do another one with only cheese. So the one with just cheese, I'm gonna add a little more cheese. This. This is like outside in pizza where melting cheese is trapped in, or I guess it's kind of like a calzone. Now we're ready to fry. Now we're ready to fry this, the most difficult part. So you can see this is pretty well sealed. And we'll just put it like this. The oil is pretty hot, so you have to be really careful. And I'm using a ladle. The professionals, they actually use a different tool that they have it made. But I just use a ladle because that's all I have. And you can just flip this. And it's very easy to press. You want this to be pretty flat. But don't go overboard. If you make it too flat, this part where you can actually see a little bit of brown sugar already, this could burst and start oozing with brown sugar sauce. I mean, nothing wrong with it in terms of the taste, but the presentation part gets a little bit tricky. So let's see. Let's flip this one. Wow, already very, very pretty. I just want these edges to cook pretty evenly. And when both sides are golden brown, that's done. because inside everything's already fully cooked anyway. You just want the dough to cook. So this is pretty well ready now, and I'm going to show you how I cheat when I really don't want to pan fry something, and I just use a waffle maker. As you can see, this has been preheated pretty well. So one of them, so this is the one classic one with brown sugar filling, and I'm going to flatten it by hand just a little bit like this, so it looks like a flat bread, kind of like a pita bread here. Then and here it goes. And we'll wait about a couple minutes. It's been about 2 minutes or so. So let's see. This looks pretty good. And I'll just flip it once. And 30 more seconds. 30 seconds later. This looks beautiful. I don't know if you saw, but as soon as this was lifted, it rose just a little bit. Still alive. So there you have it. Very easy version of waffle hottuck. So Korean cooking, it always has to end with some kind of scissors. This one is pretty hot, so I'm gonna do this one last. Let's do the classic ones first. The green onion one, it cut itself. I goofed. I think a green onion had way too much oil. So next time I think I'll put much less oil so it doesn't open the dough. So I don't even have to cut that one. And this one had a little bit of spillage, but let's see anyway. You can see there's brown sugar melted, and you can see pumpkin seeds right there. I think this is the cheese and squash blossom one. Oh yeah. Food corn right there. Another one, I'm looking for another brown sugar. Oh, this is another green onion that had an accident. I'm thinking this is the brown sugar one. No, this one turned out a lot better. You could see it's like better distributed, like a more evenly distributed all over hottuck. So there you have it. Now let's move on to waffle hottuck. Wow, you know what? I think this one actually looks the most professional. The sugar went all different places. Let's cut one more time here. Yep, that's what it is. So today you learned how to make hottuck. I hope everybody makes it at home because it's very easy to find ingredients that almost everybody has at home. So I'll just plate like this. And we're gonna have this for dessert. Okay, so taste test. So good. Just the way I like, with a little bit of seeds inside. There you go. What do you think, E? I really want to taste the cheese one also. It does too. You could see that she really wants to eat the cheese part. I'll eat on a little bit, and you can eat the rest. Well, thank you for joining us today for making hottuck. I hope you guys all make it at home. Bye!